Hey everyone, I'm Keith Carson taking a look at this nor'easter that has been churning in the Gulf of Maine. It was pretty rainy and windy last night, and this low is still sticking around. We're going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk about the long weekend forecast, which has some good moments in there, luckily, because this pattern has been really tough lately. So there's that low. You can see the center of circulation in the Gulf of Maine, and so around that everything is circulating, and we've got some rain bands that are moving in from southwest to northeast. That's their general direction they'll be moving in. They're light to moderate. We've got a couple of heavier bands out there, but that may actually be something called bright banding, where snowflakes are being picked up on the radar because there is snow in the mountains. We talked about this over the last few days, that it looked cold enough to see accumulating snow. And if you look at some of the ski area web cameras at Carrabassett Valley, Saddleback, and Rangeley too, you'll see that it's not all that far up the hill that they're starting to see accumulating snowfall. So we said above 3,000 feet. I'm not sure it's even that high. I think in a lot of spots it's just a little bit lower than that, and even some snowflakes in the valleys here not really accumulating. So this system slowly moves out of here today, but really slowly. So there's not a lot of improvement, just a little bit less rain. Later in the day, temperatures stuck in the 40s for most of us, 30s into the mountains. Showers continue off and on through tonight as well, particularly along the coastline, and there's some snow across Aroostook County as the system wraps out. I think tomorrow's better, but marginally so. We start to lose some of the wind. But as far as cloud cover and showers, I think there's a lot of that still going on. Temperatures are stuck in the 40s, a lot of clouds, still quite a few showers around. In the mountains, we'll once again potentially see some wet snowflakes, probably not accumulating, but wet snowflakes tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night. And through tomorrow evening, it's still cloudy. That low finally moves farther away on Sunday, and we do improve on Sunday, but I think the first half of the day is still cloudy. Temperatures are still upper 40s, low 50s. The second half of the day, I think there's some breaks of sunshine. This model is a little bearish on that, but I think it's potentially overdoing the cloud cover, and we will see some breaks in there. Temperatures should be able to get to the mid and upper 50s, maybe some low 60s as a result of that. And then you see the real clearing happening overnight Sunday, and that's as the storm finally moves far enough away, and we'll be in better shape for Memorial Day itself. It's not a knockout day, but I think that temperatures are able to get in the 60s for a lot of us, and it'll be a mixture of sun and clouds. Notice this model and a few others do have an isolated chance for a shower, especially into the mountains, back through northern New Hampshire and into Vermont. But I think if you're outside of that zone, we should be able to stay dry through the whole day on Monday. And again, it's the best day of the long weekend. And you can see that progression here, where tomorrow is really, unfortunately, quite similar to today, just not quite as windy, but still cool and showery and cloudy. A little bit better on Sunday with a break of sun in the afternoon. Still that isolated shower in there. I think a lot of us will be able to stay dry. And then Memorial Day itself is the best day of the stretch. Temperatures between 64 and 68. I'm not sure there'll be a ton of upper 60s based on the latest models, but I think any sun will make it feel pretty nice. And that stretch, by the way, continues into next week. And so when we really start to hit a better spot, it's going to be early next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Not as clear on Friday. It gets a little bit dicier at the end of the week. There could be a system around there. But I think we'll have a prolonged stretch of temperatures in the 70s. Keep in mind, our average high is 68 this time of the year. So it's really not unusual to be in the 70s. Where we've been at in the 50s or even 40s, that's way more out of whack, if you will, than what we're going to get into next week. But if you have an opportunity to take some days off or spend more time outside, I think next week looks a lot better than this week. Not even close, actually. So there's that progression, getting nicer as we head into Monday, and then much nicer Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm not sure we've entirely kicked this pattern in which we may have rain, though, because looking late next week into next weekend, it gets a little dicey once again. But either way, there's a nice reset in there right through the holiday and then right after.